So welcome back, everyone. So we have another speaker with us, Christina Stolz. I hope everybody's hearing me perfectly. Yes.
I can hear you.
So, well, Christina is not only the speaker for today, she's a dear friend and a colleague from ICPMA. So Christina is currently the first female president of the International Construction Project Management Association, as I already said, ICPMA, having been elected by members in June 2019. To set the overall strategy and fulfill the objectives of the association, she enjoys working on an international level with the other volunteer members of the steering committee to progress and broaden this professional networking group. Well, I'm so privileged to introduce Christina today. We already had a small recap session and we said like Christina has recently joined for a new role and I think she'll have wonderful details to share with us. I don't know if it's still confidential, but I'm sure that it's public now. And yeah, as I said, Christina is, well, because I know her personally, so I can say she's a wonderful woman and a great professional. And it is a pleasure to work with Christina. And today, Christina is going to share with us on the topic, pursuing the vision, plan B or not to plan B. Well, that seems quite interesting, Christina. Let's see what you have to say today. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Christina Stolz. Christina, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Hargit. Very kind introduction of you. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm really honored to speak today. I'm looking forward to it. I'll start sharing my screen and then we'll talk about the vision. Today, as Hargit said, it's all about pursuing the vision, plan B or not to plan B. And I really love the introduction Carlos was doing, actually, all the points he was mentioning about the people. You will probably feel that this is a continuation almost of Carlos' talk, because I think, congratulations to the host, I think our talks really work well together. So the one thing I would like to point out that I would like for this to be a discussion rather than a talk. So it's less a lecture from me. It's less me telling you how to do things or not to do things. I would really like to encourage the audience to join in and engage. I've got two screens set up so I can see your questions coming in live. So hopefully I'll be able to embed some answers to your questions or some discussions points. So not only questions, but even if you have some points you would like to raise or agree with me or disagree with me, please feel encouraged to do so. So we have a discussion about the vision, plan B or not to plan B. And you might find a little bit of a hint here that I'm talking to you from London. So therefore there's a bit of a word play with Shakespeare saying to be or not to be. So in terms of the agenda, so you know what's coming, this discussion is very much a two-part discussion. So part one is all about the vision and project management, about plan B in project management. And then I would really like to encourage us to have a short discussion. I appreciate there is still the question and answers session, so we can continue there. But this is very much an engaging, hopefully an interactive discussion. And then there's a second part, which is referring to the title of this summit, which is Advancing in the Construction Industry. So I would like to touch upon the project management and the new norm and the future of project management. And again, Carlos has done a wonderful introduction to this topic this morning in his previous talk. So thank you very much, Carlos. You absolutely set the scene for me and make it very easy. Thank you very much. Just before I go into my presentation, a little bit of housekeeping, please. So I don't need to point out the fire exits or the toilets to you because I'm sure hopefully you're fully aware where these are located. But what I would like to mention is three things. One, as I said, I've got two screens. So if I kind of look slightly away from the camera, please apologize me. I'm just checking your questions and hopefully we'll be able to refer to what you asked me. And the other 2 points are that I'm going to play 2 videos. So it's not just me you hear. You will hear of another person. And I'm hoping that you find it very inspirational and motivational. These videos have nothing to do with project management at all. I find them very motivational, and I really hope that this discussion is thought-provoking at its best. That's really my target. I would like to provoke thoughts. I would like to make you feel inspired and motivated to continue what you do at the moment and be a fantastic construction project manager. So these are the aims. The other final element of housekeeping is we're going to do 2 polls. So again, I would like to call you to be really interactive and engaging and press the yes and no buttons and put your opinion in there so we can build on that, and I can include you as my audience into this talk. Thank you very much. Just very briefly about me, Hargit very kindly put a kind introduction and welcomed me beforehand, but just so that you know a little bit more about me, and not just that I'm the president of a fantastic network, the ICPMA at the moment, but I'm German. I'm born in Hamburg. You see the beautiful Lake Ulster here on the picture at the top left. I studied architecture, so that's my background. You see the picture with a head helmet in my mid-20s on construction sites. I love design. I love creativity and bringing everything together. I decided to move to London in 2004. I felt I needed to attack my weaknesses. My English was the worst subject in school, so I thought I need to do something about it. I'm still working on it, but I've got a few more words at least under my belt. And then at the bottom right, the picture is me in action in London. You usually see me with a notepad and scribbling things or marking up drawings or scheduling things out or doing a little diagram as I talk to people to visualize things. I'm very much working, probably impacted from my architectural background, very much working with visualization. So that's a little bit more about me. So here we are. I'm asking you to join in. I would like to know from you, do you talk about vision in project management? So there's a poll coming up shortly, and you just press the yes or no. There it is. And I would like you to respond to Hargit's question, please. So it's really interesting. Do you use the term vision? Do you talk about a vision statement of your projects? Do you, how do you think about the term vision when you think of construction? I'm really interested to hear a little bit more from you about that. We talk a lot about tools and processes and how we do things, and we heard from Carlos earlier about there's another poll. I think there's 2 polls coming up now, but maybe respond to both at the same time. So we talk a lot about how we do things and the process and the tools, but I really would like to know from you whether we talk about vision at all. And Hargit will join me in a moment and let me know what the responses are.
Christina, I'm seeing it actually, yes. The poll is increasing, about 80%. Now it's getting 82, 83. I think we have most of the people here, they definitely talk about vision in the project management. Wow, that's a success. Yeah.
Okay, that is really fantastic news. I absolutely love that. I would like to come to my very first video I'd like to play to you, and I'm really positively surprised. I love the fact that they talk about vision. I think vision is very, very important. And I'm going to play you a video from Arnold Schwarzenegger, who you might know or you don't, but just to give a brief introduction. Growing up in the 80s in Germany, I knew the name. I knew Arnold Schwarzenegger, coming from Austria, being big into bodybuilding, big into action movies. So some people might have seen The Terminator. Not quite my thing. I can't claim I'm a fan, I must confess. But he did a speech in 2019, and you see it on the slide, a speech that broke the internet. When I came across that speech, I was quite impressed, and I find it quite intriguing. So I play you 2 parts of this speech. This first part is about vision, and he will introduce himself a little bit more. I need to warn you, there's a lot of skin in this video, so don't be put off by it. But I hope you find it quite motivating. We're going to talk further about vision and the importance of vision. So let's start playing this video for you now.
The first rule of success is to have a vision. You see, if you don't have a vision of where you go, and if you don't have a goal where you go, you drift around and you never end up anywhere. It's like you can have the best ship in the world, you can have the best airplane in the world. If the pilot or the captain doesn't know where to go, it would just drift around. It would not end up anywhere, or most likely in the wrong place. So I was very fortunate that I stumbled onto my vision. I mean, as you know, I was born in 1947 in Austria after the Second World War. And I didn't really like Austria when I grew up. I couldn't wait to get out of there. I couldn't see myself becoming a farmer or a worker in a factory or anything like that. Even though my parents wanted me to stay there and have a normal life. My father wanted me to become a police officer like he was. My mother wanted me just to stay there and marry a girl with the name of Heidi, hopefully, and have a bunch of kids and run around like the Van Trapp family in The Sound of Music. But that was their vision, not mine. My vision was totally different. I felt that I was born for something special, for something unique, for something big. Do you know how great it felt that I knew where I was going? Imagine the majority of people don't know where they're going. It's when you have a goal, when you have a vision, everything becomes easy. Because remember that in America, for instance, when you study, you will see the percentage of people that like their jobs. 74% hate their job in America. Now, there's not much different when you come to Europe. The majority of people don't like what they're doing because they're really not doing it because they didn't have a goal and they followed this goal. They just aimlessly drift around, and then all of a sudden there's a job opening, so they get that job because you have to work. But then when you work, it's a chore. It's work. It's not fun. So if you think about, only a quarter of the people really enjoy what they're doing in life. That is unbelievable if you think about it. So I felt so blessed that I knew what I was doing. It's like a medical student that studies and knows he wants to become a doctor. You know where to go. So I knew where to go. So people always ask me, when they saw me in the gym in the pumping iron days, they said, why is it that you're working out so hard? 5 hours a day, 6 hours a day, and you have always a smile on your face. The others are working out just as hard as you do, and they look sour in the face. Why is that? And I told people all the time, I said, because to me, I'm shooting for a goal. In front of me is the Mr. Universe title. So every rep that I do gets me closer to accomplishing that goal, to make this goal, this vision turn into reality. Every single set that I do, every repetition, every weight that I lift will get me a step closer to turn this goal into reality. So I couldn't wait to do another 500-pound squat. I couldn't wait to do another 500-pound bench press. I couldn't wait to do another 2,000 reps of sit-ups. I couldn't wait for the next exercise, for the next half hour of posing and all the kind of things that you have to do to be a champion. And with the age of 20, I went to London and I won the Mr. Universe contest as the youngest Mr. Universe ever. And it was because I had a goal. So let me tell you something, visualizing your goal and going after it makes it fun. You got to have a purpose no matter what you do in life. You got to have a purpose. So that's rule number 1, have a vision. Rule number 2 is, don't listen to the...
So I hope you enjoyed that one. I found it quite motivational, inspirational when I came across this speech in 2019. And I thought it's worth sharing. I would have never thought that he would do such a speak when I saw him in The Terminator, but here we go. You become wiser with age, I suppose. So what are the key messages from that speech? Obviously, the importance of vision, to maintain your vision, to go after your vision, to work hard, and to enjoy what you do. That was the key takeaways for me. I think we're lucky in what we do because it's so versatile. Every project is different. Every day is different. We try to plan ahead and we try to do things in a controlled manner, but you never really know what's going on. You really don't know the next recession around the corner. This global pandemic hit us all very hard. So it's really important to enjoy what you do, but also to follow your vision. So I was really, I love the fact that, and I was humbled to see that a lot of people, 80% or 85%, are talking about vision and project management. I think it's important to include, as part of your brief, your client brief, to include a vision statement on the first page of the client brief. We usually go a lot into technical details. We want to make sure everything is right. We want to make sure everything is controlled. But the key is maintaining your vision. And I think it's sometimes challenging to put your vision in a short paragraph, but it needs to be really visualized so your team is following. So I would recommend and really encourage everyone to work with a client to put that vision statement in the client brief to make sure everybody knows where they're going. Not quite talking about building the muscles Arnold did, but I thought this was a great opener for this conversation and discussion. Obviously, being the president of a fantastic network, I would like to add, build yourself a friendly and supportive network to achieve your goal and join the ICPMA. It's a fantastic network. Everything, any vision is better achieved if you have a friendly network around you to help you and support you with that. So coming from vision and visualizing your vision, I would like now to talk about a plan B in project management. And again, bear with me, I would like you to answer Hargeet's poll in a minute, whether you are currently talking about a plan B in project management. I think I kind of know the answer, but I would like you to interact and engage and press the button. It's coming up in a moment, I'm sure. I get lots of thumbs up already, so thank you very much for that. There's the poll, so please respond. Do you talk about a plan B in project management? Obviously, you know, we heard Philip talking about risk and risk management on day one, so there's a lot involved there. So, you know, are you talking about a plan B? How important is it for the way you manage your project? How much energy and time do you spend in planning for your plan B, making sure you have a plan B, considering, you know, coming back to the thought we heard earlier about the vision and where you really want to go. So that's really what I would like to discuss with you. I don't
Christina, sorry for the interruption. We have the voting. So 86% people said yes, they are talking about, and 14% said quite no. They are somehow no, but we still have more votes coming, and now it's 88%. So again, I think the majority is saying yes.
Thank you very much, Hargeet. It's very kind, very kind. So yes, I must confess, I expected us to vote quite a high percentage to yes, we're using a plan B. Let me go further, a little bit deeper into plan B. I know it's very obvious, but as we said before, sometimes it's really helpful to just talk about the obvious. So what is a plan B? So the definition of plan B is to have an alternative plan of action for use if the original plan should fail. So there's lots of other words we could use. We could call it a fallback plan. We like to talk about contingency, in particular in cost consultancy. There's a contingency amount. So it's very important to have that. An alternative substitute, a backup plan. There's lots of books about option B or plan B. So if you do research on the internet, option B, I can recommend that book by Sheryl Sandberg and Adam Grant. It's fantastic. Slightly different perspective and reason, but sometimes option A is simply not available. So let's work hard out of option B. So it's really, really interesting if you do the research on what plan B is and how people refer to it and how it's being used. The importance of a plan B in project management, again, if you go on the internet and do your research, there's lots and lots of information about that a project manager should always have a plan B in hand. A good project management manager must work with foresight and have alternatives up its sleeves. And there's always, always the importance of project management highlighted, to have a plan A, B, or C in hand. So this is the point where I like to play you another very short 2-minute clip from Arnold Schwarzenegger. And please listen out very, very carefully, because the beginning of this interview is key.
I hate plan B. And I tell you why. Because we have so many doubters, as I've said earlier, the no-sayers. We have so many of those people that say no, and you can't do it, it's impossible. That is okay, because we just turn off, as I said earlier, and we listen and we hear the no being a yes. You can't do it, you can do it, and all of that. So that is possible to do that amongst all the negative people around you. But when you start doubting yourself, that's very dangerous. Because now what you're basically saying is that if my plan doesn't work, I have a fallback plan, I have a plan B. And that means that you start thinking about plan B, and every thought that you put into plan B, you're taking away now that thought and that energy from plan A. And it's very important to understand that we function better if there is no safety net, because plan B becomes a safety net. It says that if I fail, then I fall and I get picked up and I have something else there that will protect me. And that's not good, because people perform better when there's no safety net. People perform better in sports and everything else if you don't have a plan B. To me, it is very dangerous to have a plan B, because you're cutting yourself off from the chance of really succeeding. And the reason, one of the main reasons why people want to have a plan B is because they are worried about failing. What is if I fail, then I don't have anything else? Well, let me tell you something. Don't be afraid of failing, because there's nothing wrong with failing. You have to fail in order to climb that ladder. There's no one that doesn't fail.
So I hope you enjoyed that one, a slightly different perspective to what we all just voted for and pressed plan B as yes, definitely we're using this. Key messages from that speech. We heard about him talking about a vision, working hard. Now he's turning a corner and says, focus on plan A. He says, plan B takes your energy and focus away from achieving plan A. I thought it was a really interesting thought. And when I heard it the first time, it got me thinking. So again, I really would like to encourage you to join this discussion and just think it through a little bit. Another perspective, I know it's a little bit small on your screen and it's just a bit of fun, but someone is here presenting a plan for a new project and asking the team for constructive feedback. And someone in the center picture saying, oh, well, what about a plan B, just in case if it fails? And the presenter is responding and says, well, you know, you are so negative. I asked for constructive feedback, not a pessimistic view. Just a bit of a humorous perspective, but that can be perceived as well. So how do you feel right now? Does it feel a little bit confusing? I felt very much confused because my mind is all set on plan B. I'm a project manager by heart. I love to, make sure I've got a contingency plan at hand. I always think ahead, what if it doesn't go to plan? What are the options? What can we recommend to the client? What are the costs doing? Where's the program going? So when I heard this speech, I felt very much confused because he has a valid point. All the energy, effort, and time you spend on plan B, you take away from plan A. We have a question here or a comment already coming up, talking about many alternatives such as plan B. If your original plan failed, should we always take risks for this matter in order for our project or plan to be executed and meet the deadlines for completion? ? I will bear with me. I think that one will be answered in a moment. So coming back to the title of my talk, Plan B or not to Plan B. If Plan B takes the energy, why do project managers always plan for Plan B, C, D, and E? Let's look into that a bit more, and I think it will answer Amanda's question as well. A beautiful picture. This is the road ahead. You've done your vision. You're really clear in your mind with your client and your team what you want to achieve. The path is straight. This is where you want to go. Well, it's not always like this, is it? So even if you put all the energy in to get the right team on board, we heard from Carlos about the importance of building the A team for each project. So make sure you get the right skill set, the right culture, everything. But still, even if you also have your vision defined and included in your brief, unfortunately, there's a bit of zigzag happening. Something crops up, something doesn't quite go to plan. So therefore, it's really important to think about what can we do. Another picture here, I thought sometimes it's not even a zigzag. It might not be external factors. Sometimes the road and the path is not even clear. Sometimes you start a project and you need to define the strategy. You need to really define the path in order to see the vision right clearly. So again, this is something we as project managers are doing, right? We think about with the team, with the client, how are we going to achieve this? What is our strategy? How do we formulate the path? So therefore, and coming back to Amanda's question, it's important to think about the alternative. It's important to think about the risks, as we heard from Philip on day one and other people in their various talks. It's important to think about risk mitigation strategy. Yes, indeed. But don't lose yourself in too many options. Don't put too much energy and thought into plan B, because it's important to really, really follow your vision and follow through. So my takeaway and my summary is coming on the next slide. I would really like you to think about it and think now, because once you see it, you might think that's a valid point, but have your thoughts ready, put them in the feed so we can discuss it in a moment. For me, how after 2 days of pondering about it, when I heard Arnold Schwarzenegger speak and I heard about him saying, I hate plan B, my personal takeaway is the key is to always follow your vision and your objective A, with options A.1, A.2, A.3 readily available if the journey is not as smooth as anticipated. And I love this image personally, I must say. So we're still following the vision, but there is a little bit of zigzag happening at the same time. We need to amend maybe the strategy, how we get there. But the point I would like really to make today is how important it is to keep to your vision. So the question to you is, would you agree? Is it we all said 85% are talking about a plan B. What about the people who voted no? What do you do? What do you do if something doesn't quite go to plan? How do you mitigate risk? Is this something you consider? Is this a strategy? Is this part of a strategy? Maybe it's not a plan B as such, and you just embed it in your strategy. So we probably are going to talk about it further in the question and answer sessions. I don't see any questions coming in right now or any comments, but I thought a lot of thumbs up. So thank you very much for that. I'm a little bit conscious of time, so I give it a couple of more minutes for anyone to to put a comment in the view. A comment in the feed, and then we take it from there. This would be the end of my part 1. Part 2 is talking about advancing in construction project management in the new norm. So there's just about 3 slides happening, so not much more. But for me, it was really important to emphasize the importance of vision and mitigation strategy, but be really conscious of not wasting time, be conscious of where you focus your energy, be conscious of the time of your team, and not confuse people. I think that is really, really important. Communication is key, obviously. So be careful how you communicate alternative plans. I've got a question here. How do you get the team to buy into the A2, etc., A.2, etc.? It's a very valid question. I think it is, in order to maintain the vision, would be my answer. So if there is a challenge arising on your project, and I think Amanda's point was similar to that. We need to make sure that the project is in a safe environment. We need to make sure that we look at the risk and we plan for them. And Carlos was pointing to that as well. You need to think ahead. So that is our key. It's one of our key tasks as project managers, to look ahead, to think what could happen, and then have a strategy how to get around it or how to maintain your vision. But the point I'm trying to make is it's always the vision. So it's always how, if the client, I mean, a simple example, if you talk about a cultural project, for example, of course you need to make sure you have sufficient toilets and facilities in the theatre so everything works from a statutory point of view. But the vision might be you don't want anyone to wait in the break. So that might be way more toilets than the statutory requirement is. So a silly little example, but just like this. So that your vision could be not related to the technical detail. It could be something else, and that's really important. So I would like to move on to project management in the new norm, advancing the construction project management industry. And you see here a few tools, and I would like to refer back to day 2 when we talked about digitalizations and the new trends, sustainability, which I think are really important parameters and factors who are influencing the new project management in the construction industry in the future. However, my very personal view is that what you do as a project manager doesn't really change. It's how you do it, potentially. So the first image here is what I call building the strategy. So for me, my view is that one of the biggest tasks for us is to get the strategy right. So we are working with the client to translate his vision into the strategy and then get the team to buy in. We need to be really clear and be good communicators, which is the second image you see in the middle of this slide, is all about the communication. Again, how we communicate is very much impacted by the digitalization. And you see, lots of icons here like downloading and web-based communication and digitalization. And we have BIM and all these tools which are really, really helpful, but they are still tools to help us to project manage the project. And obviously things like risk management, and we have costs and quality and time management the same. It's all the tools which are there, which are advancing, and we should adhere to use the most advanced technology if we can. Sometimes it's not possible due to economic pressures, because sometimes it might not be the most effective or the most efficient on a smaller scale project, but always try to use the best tools available to you. However, I would like to also touch about something else apart from the tools right now. My thought is, and coming back to the beginning of the talk, my thought is that vision might become even more important. So maybe we need to think about the client and user requirements in the new norm more than the tools we use. Maybe we need to think about the vision. So these two images, just to be a little bit thought-provoking here, these two images are from the UK. The one to the left, the big slide, is Ticketmaster, and the other picture is BBC. And, you know, who knows, maybe we come to the office in future to play and socialize, because we've proven we can work on our computer from home. We can work from serviced office accommodation. We don't need a big office somewhere to work on our laptops. But what we do need, and I think that's what the pandemic has proven, what we do need is what the next slide says, the human factor. I think it's even more important to work together with people, to exchange ideas, to communicate. And for me personally, I would say the human factor is the most important in advancing the construction industry. I'm not negating the need for the tools, definitely. And I think we need to be as progressive and innovative as we can. And we need to always look to improve the quality of how we're delivering. But I really would like to encourage everyone to think about the human factor in the new norm. And I would like to introduce you to this lady here on the picture. It's Anne-Marie Steen. She's from the Netherlands. She talks a lot about play. It's really interesting if you want to look her up. Her view is that creativity, or it's Albert Einstein's view actually, creativity is intelligence having fun. And there's another quote here from Plato who says, in an hour of play, you learn more about a person than in a year of conversation. So just a little bit of a side note. I'm at the end of my talk. It's 10:30 here in London, 11:30 in Europe. So I'm saying my thank you very much. Thank you for listening. And I'm really, really interested what questions will come up.
Thank you very much, Christina. That was a wonderful presentation. And as you said in the beginning, sometimes we definitely need reminders. I think today is all about reminders to change our mindset, or maybe to look back and think for a moment, how are we actually proceeding with our industry? And it doesn't only have to be construction industry, because the talk that you gave today is valid for all the industries, I would say, that we are having today. Wonderful, wonderful. I really liked it. And I hope that the audience also enjoyed. I was quite seeing all the thumbs up and the claps. So I'm sure that they also enjoyed the talk. We have one question from Louis, and he says, it is very important to have an overall project vision, but the last year has taught us that we often have to change the strategy for achieving that vision. What's your take on that?
I would fully agree with that, although I think it's important to differentiate between vision and strategy. So maybe that's where we need to be a little bit clearer in our mind, because I still think it's important to try to achieve your vision. I think it's a strategy which needs to change. So it's how we get there. And I agree with you, Louise, that maybe we need to tweak the vision a bit, because now in the pandemic things have changed. And but coming back to my first point, actually, maybe it's the requirements, the user requirements which have changed, for example, or the client requirements which have changed. And then on that basis, the vision is adapted. So I wouldn't say it's just the vision which needs changing, because if the requirements have not changed, it would be a shame to lose your vision about that. But if the requirements have changed, then yes, your vision needs to adapt.
Thank you, Christina. Before we end the session, I also have some questions, but I won't take that long, just a simple question. So we see, like in projects, what we see definitely is that the vision is actually not clearly transferred to the rest of the team. And before a client thinks about a vision or tries to transfer it to the other stakeholders, it's not discussed clearly what the vision is actually. And based on just one person's expectations, I would say, or assumptions, they define a strategy, and then this strategy is actually transferred to all the planners. And that's why they follow it. And some agree with that and some don't. And that's why maybe we have always a plan B, C, D, because as a project manager, I would be ready with my plan B, and the architect would be ready as well, and then the contractor as well. So I think because the vision is sometimes not clear, and there is no participation or there is no brainstorming before we finalize the strategy, I think that could be one of the reasons why we always have plan B, C, D. So what do you think? How can we actually try to reduce this kind of attitude to go forward?
Yeah, as I mentioned in my talk, I personally, for quite some years, I openly talk about the vision at the briefing session with my clients. So if I meet my client for the first time, get to know each other, I'll ask him about the vision. And I'll sit down and try to, because that's the other challenging thing. The vision can be a bit of a blurb. It's sometimes not quite, it's not easy to define. So if you then sit down, try to define and write it down in 1 to 3 sentences, that is really challenging. But if you do that, and if you include that in your brief, which is then circulated to your team, and it's the first section of my brief is client vision statement. And that is so clearly defined that hopefully everyone can buy in. And then in your first meeting, when you kick off with the team, again, you need to refer to it. I think it's really important the communication skills come here in again. And it's not, I wouldn't say you need to drum the drum of vision all the time, but at the beginning of the project, I think it's really important. And then the other element is if you continue and you go through your design stages, try to refer back to your vision. So every time you start a new design stage, open the brief document, have another look through the brief, and have a read through your vision statement. Are you still complying with that vision? Because sometimes, as you say, Hargit, and I totally agree with your point, sometimes you get on this path and you go the zigzag route, if you think of the image I've shown, and you kind of lose touch of your vision or the client's vision. It's not really you, it's the client's and the project vision, isn't it? So it's really important to always go back to the brief and always go back to the vision statement so you don't lose touch, because maybe sometimes you actually realize you're going down a path which is not quite meeting the requirements.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree with you. I think we also have 2 more questions. But yes, we are running out of time. I think Nick would be waiting for us. So I have taken down these questions and we'll talk about them in the open round. Thank you once again, Christina. Once again, I would say it was a wonderful presentation. That's my perspective. And we'll hear from you more in the open session. Yeah.
Will do. Thank you very much, Hargit. I see you later.
So we'll see you. We'll see everybody in, this time I'll say quite rightly in 4 minutes for the next session. See you soon.
See you soon.